Welcome back to We're Talking Bears, where uncle, nephew, and son bring you the latest in the Chicago Bears experience. I'm nephew,
I'm uncle.
I'm son.
and the Bears suffer another heartbreaking defeat to the San Francisco 49ers in week 14. I don't know how many this is in a row now, 7 in a row, 8 in a row, eternity, all in a row. It's just all bad, man. It's all bad. Once again, unable to get it done. Once again, looking like we're just going in the wrong direction. And once again, not knowing when the sun is going to shine again on the Chicago Bears. How do you all feel about another loss by our team?
Optimistic.
I didn't
No.
see that coming.
Not at all, actually. No, no way optimistic. No. It's man, it's like when everybody can see it coming from this far away, man. Like I really don't know how, like where do the excuses and the blame stop? Because we all saw this come, like, let's be real. Not everybody, but anybody who's watched this team for any kind of length of time was like, yeah, okay, we're gonna start this clock over. We're gonna start rebuilding with another rookie. We're gonna fire the coach. We're gonna end up in the same cycle. Um,
Groundhog Day, man. It's definitely the same cycle.
man,
It's
I don't
definitely.
know. I don't know how we're supposed to be improving when we
And I'm
can't
not
see
gonna lie
the
to you.
same thing.
I want to say this and go on the record. I apologize because I feel like watching the Chicago Bears. I must not know football. At the beginning of the season and before the start of the season, we went through the schedule and we made predictions about wins and losses. And I'm an idiot because I was wrong about 90% of the games, saying that we were going to beat teams that we just have not beaten. And it makes me feel like I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And I'm sitting here on the We're Talking Bears podcast and embarrassing myself, telling people that the Bears are going to win games, and they are not winning games, man. They are not winning games. So I just feel like I should shut up. Honestly, I feel like I should shut up and come on. We're Talking Bears and predict losses. That way, if I'm an idiot and we win, at least I'll be happy about it.
That's fair.
I'm feeling the same way, man. I had to walk around my job with a Green Bay Packers hat for a day
And that's
because of that garbage.
That's embarrassing.
Because I was so cocky.
Because green and yellow are not colors that look good together.
No. A puke green hat.
Yeah, that's gross.
No,
that's gross. I would have quit my job rather than wear that hat.
I considered it.
You know what? Being real, I know there's been a lot of talk about who the Bears are looking at for the coach, and not to mention the fact that I'm disgusted that every year we get to this point and we're discussing what we're going to do next year and what we need to turn this around next year. And if we just do this, it'll help everything that we have going on. I'm so sick of talking about that and speaking from that angle and perspective. But yeah, I don't know. It's nothing else that I can say. I don't know. Do we blame coaching? I mean, obviously we've had poor coaching. But what is it? What does it take for us to have a team that's successful? Like,
I think, is it going to take the sale of the team? You know, that's what it took for the Cubs. It took them selling the team to win a World Series. Are the McCaskies so entrenched in management that they refuse to be hands off for the benefit of the team? And even if they can be hands off, are they just hiring people that look like them to them? You know what I mean? It's great that Kevin Warren, Ryan Poles, and now Thomas Brown are all African American. That's beautiful, but they're not getting the job done. I need someone who thinks differently than a McCaskey to be in charge, and I need the McCaskies to sit down and be quiet and let the professionals do it. They are team owners for a lifetime. And sure, from a team ownership standpoint, do they make a profit at the end of the year? Yeah, they make a profit. Great, good for them. Okay, great. That's like every car maker, not everyone, but almost every car maker makes a profit. Some of them you don't want to drive or buy their cars. You know what I'm saying? That's just because you're making a profit doesn't mean you have a good product, is what I'm saying. Yeah. And I heard someone call in on talk radio show one day about sports, and it was talking about the Bears, and the guy simply said, "Look, you guys got to face this. It's a mediocre operation. They'll take a great team, make it mediocre. They could take a bad team, make it mediocre. It's a mediocre organization. You're gonna be stuck in the middle. Get used to it." He's like, some organizations are great, and some organizations are mediocre, and some organizations are bad. Unfortunately, what seems to have happened is that we've become bad.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like mediocre is bad when you stay mediocre, or when you have a good team and you make it mediocre. That's bad. That's a regression. So I kind of agree with that sentence from whoever said that, but I don't think it's mediocre when you have a good team and you make the mediocre. I think that's bad. And unfortunately, I think we have a lot of that going on in the organization. I don't know if these guys can be hands off. Unfortunately, I think a lot of times in business, turning a profit is what you're looking to do. And I thought the same thing about the Cubs, even though I'm not I like that they're a Chicago team. As long as they're not playing the White Sox, I wish them well. But unfortunately, sometimes it does seem like if you have fans that are loyal enough to pay for a subpar product, you're not really going to be interested in doing things and spending your money when you don't have to, because you know you've got the support of your consumers, and that's just a sad fact that I believe in some ways we do have to face and we do have to look at. I just hope that something can change. Like this can't stay this way. And it sucks to have to say, hey, we need to stop buying tickets. We need to stop watching the Bears. We need to stop supporting. Like, we love football and we only get 17 games in a season. So it's hard to say, hey, I'm just not going to watch our team. This is our team. We're from Chicago. I don't know where the McCaskies are from, if they're even from here, if they just own the team. But this is our team. We're Chicago. And so that's hard to ask of any real fan of football, any Chicago sports fan. And it's hard to ask of me for sure. And that's just the unfortunate part. I feel like them as owners, the McCaskies, take advantage of people like us who care about a team that represents our city and the product that they put out. And we support it because, like Brad said, unfortunately, even when things are extremely bleak, we are optimistic. We do want our team to go out there and do well. And seeing us get one win makes us like, oh, crap, maybe it's going to turn around today.
We're rabid. But check this out. Think about it also like this. Because they're mediocre and they produce a mediocre product, there's also a fear of change. Like, if you know you're average at best, right? If you change something, you could get worse. And unfortunately, we've seen that. Like, we were an average team, and we are now a bad team. Because even when we get good talent, we produce bad results. 7 games. I remember Lovie Smith said good teams don't lose 2 in a row. We dropped 7 in a row. Only bad teams go on losing streaks like this. There's a good team doesn't drop 2 in a row. They may lose 5 in a season, but they're not back to back. They know how to repair, correct, and that type of stuff. This is horrible, and this is season after season after season, after coach after coach after coach, after GM after GM after GM. We've become bad.
And you know what? I said this, and I said this about the Cubs also when they won the World Series. And I don't know if this has anything to do with it, because like you said, I would love for the McCaskies to be hands-off owners. I don't know exactly what they say to the guys they hire to man the ship on this thing, but I've always thought with the Cubs, like, hey, it might be in their minds that, yes, if we have support when our team is not doing well, then the fear of change isn't necessarily that it can get worse. The fear of change is that when you start to progress and take steps forward, that now the fans that supported you when you weren't good will now start having expectations for you. And now if your fans have expectations for you that you cannot meet, maybe now that will change the way that their support looks for you on the other end. And maybe they don't want that. Maybe it's like, hey, if we happen to win, we win, but we don't want to change our formula because we don't want our fans to be fans. We don't want our consumers to buy our product based on the success we have as an organization. We want our fans to support us because they're our fans. And that's terrible. This is a competitive sport. It's football, for Christ's sakes. Like, come on, man. Like, but that's what it looks like. And I said this about the Cubs, and they only won one. They only won one. You don't want your fans, when you've been supported in this way. I look at it like you don't want your fans to actually have their support be based on something. Like, hey, we're not going to support a loser. We're not going to support you if you don't do X, Y, and Z. You want your fans to show up to Wrigley Field drunk and get drunk and enjoy baseball, win or lose. And as long as that's what you have, you're okay with that. And I think that's the fear of change. I don't think they're worried about being bad, because let's face it, when you haven't won in over 30 years, I don't think that the argument is being bad, because the second place team and the last place team are both losers. You get what I'm saying? So I don't mind losing.
Ricky Bobby's quote.
I'm okay with losing, but let's work on it. You get what I'm saying? Eventually, I want to be the number one team of that. Like, so we need to be striving for that. And unfortunately, I think that that's what it looks like from a business standpoint. And like you said, if you can't be hands off and let the guys get in there that are focused on the game itself and focused on team building itself, not the business. Like, leave that to someone else that does business, but let the people who know football come in and worry about what this team needs to look like for us to be successful on the field.
Let me throw one more thing in, a scarier thought. And then, son, we want you to comment on this. A scarier thought is, what if they are being hands off? What if it's just their hiring decisions that what if they aren't in there telling people what to do? What if they just keep hiring the wrong people?
Well, I think that's part of it as well, because I look at it like this way, and Cuz can speak on this too, but I think that that's actually the main point of it all. Because look at it like this: if I know football and I'm a GM or I'm a coach, and you want me to come in, you're gonna have to respect what I know. You're gonna have to respect my cachet. You're not gonna be able to talk to me like I'm just some Rudy Poo off the street. You get what I'm saying? You're going to have to honor and respect the fact that I can come in here and I know what these guys need. So shut up, step back, and let me do my job. I think that it might be just that they're hiring guys that are going to do exactly what they want them to do, who aren't going to say too much, and who don't command that type of a presence. And that in of itself is a snowball effect, in my opinion.
No, I agree 100% with that. And we kind of touched on that last week. But what we were talking about when it came to the Thomas Brown decision and where we want to go at the end of this year, because those strong presences, those strong personalities, those Harbaughs and these guys, the Belichicks, the Vrabels, all of those guys, they're gonna know when they walk in the door, okay, this need to be run like this, how the ship goes. If you don't like it, get out. That's how they're gonna be when they walk in the door. And I promise you, it's a ton of people that have come into this building interviewing for that job and left because that wasn't the deal. We talked about how Poles wanted to fire Eberflus for weeks and only was just able to after the loss to the Lions or whatever. But if they were hands off, why would that have been a multiple month-long struggle to get the coach out? You know what I mean? Like, either the people that we have hired are so grossly incompetent that it's a joke that we hired them, or the McCaskies still had their hands in it and they still messing with the final product. That's really the way I see it. And so to your point, is the more we see that evidence of their interference, the more we see the evidence of them kind of maintaining this status quo rather than really shooting for change. Man, it just reinforces what you're saying. Like, I don't think they really are interested in selling anything but a mediocre product. It's been too long of mediocrity to really expect something else. We've heard so many times, oh yeah, we're changing the way we do things. We're changing the way we do things. The hiring practices to bring in Ryan Poles and the hiring practices bring in Eberflus, and we know how sus that was. Okay, well, if you're doing things differently, then why come the GM can't choose the coach? Why are y'all choosing the coach? Why are y'all preventing the GM from getting rid of the coach? How much hands do they have in the players that are on the field? How much hand do they have in Justin moving on and getting out of here and all that kind of stuff? Like, it calls all of that into question. And when you have this kind of, meddling from your ownership, It's never going to go well. Look at how the Panthers were doing when the dude bought the team and, stuck his nose in like, oh yeah, draft Bryce Young, do this. Man, it's just all bad, man. It's all bad. And the comparison with the Cubs, man, honestly, the Bears are looking a little bit more like a different Chicago franchise, a different Chicago baseball franchise who is also looking to sell their team, or rather not looking to sell their team. The fans are looking to get the ownership off of them.
Right.
And nobody shows up to White Sox games. White Sox have considerably lower market share in terms of TV viewership than almost any other team in the MLB. And Reinsdorf still won't sell. It doesn't matter what the fans want. It doesn't matter what we think. It doesn't matter how crap of a product he puts out year after year. These people are going to hold on to what they want. And the rest of us, can go kick rocks for all they care. It's their team. It's their billions. It's their, $100 million checks coming in from marketing rights and all that stuff. So you think that they really want to do anything unless there's a full-on mutiny by the fans? The best we could hope for is to influence them to bring in somebody who will come in and have a clear vision of what success is and be able to execute that and has the proven track record at other organizations to execute that as a path to success. So to what Pops was saying, what we really need from them is to sit down and shut up. Don't go, do all this other mess, trying to politic your way into the front office. Once you hire a guy, that's your guy. He runs the team. Go away. Go sit down and watch. And there's not a lot of people that have the, I guess, emotional maturity to accept that. And clearly the McCaskies are not those people.
Doesn't look like it. And that's, it's key. Hire the right person and get out of their way.
Yeah.
Hire someone who's competent. And that's my philosophy in any type of business dealing. I'm not going to deal with you if I don't trust you that you're competent. And if I trust you that you're competent, then I'm going to give you the assignment that I need done, and I'm going to get away. And I like to be treated that way. I don't want someone sitting over my shoulder. I don't want them to have to sit over my shoulder.
Right.
And honestly, I don't want them foolish enough to think that you hired me to do something because you're better than me at it.
Right.
Because that would be a dumb sentence too. If you're better than me at it, why did you hire me to do it?
Right.
If you're better than me at it, go do it. Hire somebody to do something you're not good at.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
you would think.
If you're George H. Halas and you can coach the team to a championship, great. Get down on the field and coach. When Jordan found out he wasn't a great coach, he got on the field and he got back. He laced him back up. His first endeavor with the when he was an owner. Where was he out in Washington?
Yeah, the Wizards.
The Wizards. Oh, his first endeavor was terrible. He just laced him back up and went back to playing, because at that point in his career, that was what he did best. He could hire somebody to do better at doing the rest of the jobs. He learned, obviously, which is good for him. But it's different work. And these results, 38-13 from the 49ers, who are a losing team. We didn't get beat by a gauntlet of a 49ers team. We got beat 38-13, shut out for 2 quarters, blown out for 2 quarters, 24-0 in the first half by a bad San Francisco team. When I say bad, I don't mean they're not competent at all. I mean, a lot of guys are injured and they're just playing bad ball this year and they're losing a lot. And we got demolished by these guys. We got beat like this is the San Francisco team that's headed to the Super Bowl. They're not. They're not going to make the playoffs. They will not be in the playoffs, and they demolished us. 38. Caleb threw for 134. Didn't we say, oh, it's Justin? Didn't we hear that? Caleb threw for 134. I'm not telling you Caleb doesn't throw some great balls, but he threw for 134. DeAndre Swift ran for 38. And I don't remember saying that about Demo ever. You know, you got DJ
Demo's
Moore.
had his bad days. Demo's had
Yeah,
his
you
bad.
got DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, and Cole Kmet all together didn't get 150 yards and catches. Something's wrong.
I mean, I'll tell you exactly what's wrong on that is our offensive line ain't worth a damn. Like, that's really where we at. I don't know whether it's the coaching or whether it's the guys. I don't know whether it, like, when you watch guys like Darnell Wright, who dominated the SEC, dominated from that right tackle spot. And he's been allowed to play that position. Tevin Jenkins, who was dominated at the NFL level on that spot. And, we're not getting the best out of those guys either. It's not like, oh, these two are great, but everybody else sucks. It's like, oh, Tevin's never on the field because he's always hurt. Something's going on with his diet and conditioning or whatever. Like, they're not doing the right things to help him.
Yeah.
Darnell is starting to fall into injury problems and is having trouble with power, having trouble with speed. Like, he's looking like he's not grown at all since he's stepped in the league. Matter of fact, he's looking worse than he was his first, I would say not his first 7 weeks, but maybe like from the Raiders game onwards when he was one arm dealing with Max Crosby, and now he's getting beat by Detroit's backups. The ghost of Zadarius Smith is giving him problems. So, like, where are we on offense without an offensive line? And we've hired an offensive lineman. We've hired 2 offensive linemen to our top 2 organizational scouting and player development or player procurement positions, and we have nothing to show for it. Nothing. So at the end of the day, like, I know exactly what's wrong on offense. I know exactly why everybody's numbers suck. It's the same reason why everyone's numbers have sucked for years. It has nothing to do with the quarterback, as usual.
Yeah, and we're getting the same production out of completely different quarterbacks. Caleb and Justin have different skill sets.
Different quarterbacks, different offenses, different coordinators, different running backs, different receivers. We've changed everything except our offensive line coach.
So didn't we? I think we changed the offensive line coach.
No, we kept Chris Morgan. He has been
that was helpful
coach since Ryan Poles stepped in the building. Somebody check who his agent is.
Chris Morgan.
If it's Trace Armstrong, then that man is single-handedly destroying the Bears for his own pocketbook.
Trace Armstrong was a former Bear too.
Isn't he Poles and Fluce's agent though?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
This is just all bad, man. It's all bad. For the last few weeks on We're Talking Bears, we haven't talked about anything but the Bears' struggles and issues internally, not even on the football field. And that tells you everything you need to know, man. It tells you everything. And Poles said he was going to build the trenches.
He said that. And he you know what? He didn't tell the truth. He didn't tell the truth. It didn't get done. And you have to have, look, you got to have accountability. You have to. Any of us on this, can you look and you tell your boss something's going to be done this year and it's not done 3 years later and you still have a job tomorrow? I can't do that.
Right.
If I tell my boss something's going to be done and it's not done the day that he expects it, I better be sitting in his office with a good reason why.
Right.
It didn't get accomplished. I better be sitting in his office with a good reason why it didn't get accomplished.
I'm gonna start telling
a time frame in which it's going to be accomplished.
I'm just gonna start telling the boss, hey, people that get paid millions of dollars don't even have to deliver. So you better back up. You're talking to like that. What do you think you are, McCaskey?
Look, man.
It's ridiculous. And I think that it's almost like a poison. You get what I'm saying? Because even when I heard Jalen Johnson speaking about the whole Flus thing, the whole Flus encounter before they got Flus out of there. It's a poison when guys start to feel like, hey, I've been here this long, we're not winning, things aren't going right, you guys aren't putting the right people here from coaching, you don't have the right leadership. It's a trickle down effect, and it doesn't get better until you fix it, until you cut off the cancer and figure out what needs to be done everything will be poisoned by this. And that's unfortunately what it looks like is happening with the guys we got out there, with guys you're saying are regressing. All of those things come into play when you have these types of issues going on with the front office. All these things come into play. So it honestly could be a myriad of things. Now, I do believe that our offensive line isn't good, but at the end of the day, when you see guys that you know to have talent and to have skill regressing, to me, that's the first thing I think of. It's the poisonous culture that we have in the organization.
No, that's facts. And what we really need to do as fans is get a good understanding of what a path to success looks like. What does a positive organizational change look like? What do we want out of this organization? And we need to start demanding it. And I think the number one thing that we should be demanding is a successful tenured coach who understands who understands organizationally what needs to be structured, how, in order to build success. Because success isn't something you have. Success isn't something that just appears at your doorstep when you work hard. Everybody knows that that's a lie, right? So success is something that you have to plant, you have to cultivate, you have to grow through the difficult, troublesome times that it causes to try to execute that process. Right? You have to sit down and you have to say, okay, well, let's look through our organization and talk to every single member of your team, starting at the very, very tippy top. Who's in the owner's room? Who sits in those meetings? Do you trust every last member of this to be given their all for the organization, not for themselves? Is everybody here on the same page to try to win a Super Bowl, not to line their own pockets or to bring their friends in or whatever the heck their other motivations may be? Everybody has to be one and the same vision. And then you have to find somebody who's the mouthpiece of that vision and who's the mouthpiece of that culture. You got to find guys like that are in the locker room, on the field, and you got to find guys like that in the front office, and you got to find guys like that to be the head coach and to get everybody pointed in that same direction. And I don't know what coach is out there right now that has that kind of makeup. I know everybody is very high on Ben Johnson, but we don't know what kind of leader he is right now. And yes, his offense is so good right now over the last 3 years that it's hard to look at anybody else. And I'm not saying that we should. Maybe we should try just the what seems to be the obvious route and get the smartest, most capable offensive mind in the building. But he plays under Dan Campbell. He coaches under Dan Campbell, rather, who is a very outspoken, very rah-rah type of guy who can get even the toughest locker room behind him, who can turn even the toughest city into believers. And is Ben Johnson that guy? I don't know. I don't know if he is. Does that mean that he can't survive in Chicago? Does that mean that our culture is too toxic for him to flourish here? Maybe. I mean, if it could be true for Justin Fields and Caleb Williams, then it could be true for a coach. You could have a great coach in a terrible situation and the coach not succeed and it not be the coach's fault. So I mean, Bill Belichick just signed with like North Carolina or something. So he's off the table. And nobody was giving Bill Belichick the kind of control he wants anyway. But I mean, you got to look and see, like, is Mike Vrabel that guy? A lot of people are high on him, but you know, he didn't really do a lot in Tennessee. Is that another toxic organization? Probably, looking at the way that they have results on the field year in and year out. So, you know, is it the same situation? Is he going to come here and then, you know, have the same failures there, or did he learn a few things over there and then will he be able to better navigate it? It's a tough decision that's coming up this offseason. And the real question is who's going to be making that decision, because the people that are in place right now have not earned my faith and confidence through anything that they've done. And I would seriously question anyone who looks at the leadership of the organization right now and says that they have earned their faith and confidence. I would say, well, that erodes my faith and confidence in you. If the McCaskey say, oh, Ryan Poles, yeah, you've done a great job, this is all Eberflus' fault, I would be like, really? Are you watching the same thing I'm watching? Because we let Saquon not come here so that we could sign DeAndre Swift. And now Saquon's leading the league in rushing, and DeAndre Swift he's here, you know? You forewent guys like Joe Alt and things like that to add another receiver, and Caleb don't got time back there to throw it 90 freaking % of the time. He's getting pressured running for his life.
Yeah, and then with that, are we trying to push the narrative? So now, instead of respecting our number one receivers, we're trying to push the narrative with Rome. Hey, develop with Rome. Get Rome as your number one because we don't want to resign. These guys aren't going to because these guys aren't going to want to be here or aren't going to want to resign with us.
DJ already signed for 6 years, $100 million. DJ here
but DJ can walk. He can get traded. If he wants a trade, he can demand a trade.
You can't trade that contract. Nobody's taking that contract right now.
Shoot, there are teams that will take DJ Moore, his quality in that contract, but even more, Keenan Allen's on the last year, his contract. There goes it's the same old. We've seen this 1,000 times in Chicago. A guy, things don't start working out, and you just start trying to double down on the bet you made and make that bet look like you're not a doofus.
Throwing good money after bad.
Yeah, and even if it's good, I think Rome is great. But Rome's not better than Keenan Allen. Get Keenan the ball, let's go. Get DJ. Rome's not better than DJ. Get DJ the ball, let's go. Rome gets the leftovers, he's the rookie. Let's go. I agree. And then Rome can be that weapon. He can be that doggone weapon when everything breaks loose, when it gets crazy. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I'm not doubting you in any way. I'm just saying that nobody's getting the ball when Caleb's on his ass.
Right.
Now, again, like we said, we've been saying it here on We're Talking Bears. You've got to build the trenches. Why aren't you? You had a reasonable quarterback. Why aren't you trading back and making a phenomenal offensive line? Jared Goff is not the best quarterback in the NFL, but he often looks that way because he's upright, throwing to some really powerful weapons. Yeah. Brock Purdy is not the greatest quarterback ever drafted, but he often looks that way when he's upright, throwing to some awesome weapons. He's, again, Brock's number 2 in the last 2 years when it comes to yards. 8,000 yards in 2 years is what he's on pace for if he stays healthy. He's already got 7. He only needs. He's gonna make it to 8,000 yards in 2 years, with a slew of touchdowns and a reasonable amount of picks. He's good. I'm not taking credit. He clearly is better than his draft position, but at the same time, he's not Patrick or Lamar. He's not. But he's upright. You got a great line in front of him and weapons all over the place. And when you got a guy that's accurate and standing upright, man, come on. It's hard to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm 100% in agreement with you, man. So, the more we walk down this path and the more we see these same kind of results, it makes it really difficult to sit here and come out on this podcast every week and try to find out, like, hell yeah, it makes you feel like Matt Nagy. We're trying to figure out the whys, right? Like, if we can do this as fans, if we can sit here and have these brainstorming sessions on our own and come here and talk about the ideas and the thoughts that we have, text threads and all this stuff, how is it the people that are being paid millions of dollars to do this, and we're not getting paid a red cent? Okay, first of all, we need to monetize this channel. I hope you guys will support us doing that. But more important than that is, there are people being paid millions and millions of dollars, and their ideas are usually less effective than the ones that I feel like we're putting forward.
It should be better.
I'll give you one example of this, though. This reminds me of typical Chicago politics and corruption. Just think about when the Chicago Bulls won their second three-peat, and what was it? Krause. What's the guy now? Was it Krause? Phil Jackson can go 72 and he can go 82-0. He will not be the coach next year. And any idiot of a fan, of a person who sits back and watches the game, can tell you, bring back Jordan and Pippen, bring back Rodman. You get what I'm saying? So I just think that sometimes it's arrogance. I think sometimes it's those people who get to make those executive decisions have too much ego and pride to sit back and say, hey, you know what? I need to be able to defer to somebody. But when you're paying somebody, sometimes it's like, hey, this is my dollar. This is my dime. I brought you here. I made this happen. And unfortunately, that's what it feels like to me in Chicago. Like, this is the McCaskey's team, and anybody that comes in here is going to do what I tell you to do. And even if you're the best coach, if I don't like how you talk to me and what you're demanding of me and telling me what I need to do, you can get out of here too. And it's just like, man, put the right people in there. Stop being so boneheaded and ego-driven that you can't do your job and step back enough to let somebody else do their job. Pay the right people, like you said, get out of their way and let them do their job. Yeah, they're gonna have demands because when you're good at something, that's how it goes.
But not just that, and hold them accountable. So when Ryan Poles says we're going to build the trenches, hold them accountable. Say, dude, okay, I'm letting you do your job. You said we were going to build the trenches. We're still top of the league in getting our quarterback sacked.
Right.
That's not building your job.
Right.
That's not doing what you didn't do what you told me.
Right.
You didn't do what you committed to. And you have to have some measurables. Hey, I want to see sacks going down year over year. I want to see I want to see, I want to see our ability to run the ball on first down increasing. I want to see short yardage numbers percentage increasing. I want to see measurables that show me you're building the trenches. And not depleting. And I don't want excuses of who got injured. Because honestly, if you're building the trenches, the next guy up should be surprising me, not depressing me.
Totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, look, man, at the end of the day, what have we learned here today? That the entirety of the Chicago Bears fan base has severe Stockholm syndrome and PTSD. The McCaskeys, the front office, the leadership of the Bears is wildly arrogant and does not understand how to build a winning championship and formula. And the prospects for people to come into the organization and do that are slim. So what do we honestly expect out of the rest of this year and going into the offseason? Like what is our
get a number one draft pick again?
Well,
we're not hitting that goal because there are worse teams than us.
Yeah, there are significantly worse teams.
But we'll be top 10 as usual.
Right.
At least
which is a great pick
from the Ryan Pace era where we've traded all of our first round picks away. So we'll actually get to select players in that range. But
top 10 will be a great pick. But I think bottom line, you have to hire a coach that's had experience head coaching, unless you get Ben Johnson. I'll throw the dice with Ben Johnson. Yeah. I'll throw the dice with him.
I would too.
I would. You can't pass on that guy. But if you can't get him, you better have 4 guys behind him that have been successful NFL head coaches recently.
I don't even want to see successful. I want to see successful coaches in shitty organizations. I want to see coaches that have been successful despite their organization, because those are the guys that could walk into the Bears and fix at least a little bit of what's wrong. And then
I agree with you.
And the front office have the foresight to say, okay, this is what they did differently, and this is what they did better, and this is why it worked. And if they don't have the competence to identify why what they're doing differently than Flus and Nagy and Fox and all of those guys, better than all of them, then
you're right. Don't bring me somebody who was great in Pittsburgh. No, you know what I'm saying? Because Pittsburgh
hasn't come out of Pittsburgh. Let me tell you that.
But you hear what I'm saying. You hear what I'm saying? Because Pittsburgh has a great organization.
Yeah.
You bring me somebody who was great somewhere, who was good somewhere, where, like you said, the organization sucks and is proven to be not a good organization. I agree. And I think if we can do those two things, if we can draft an offensive line, literally picks our first pick, our second pick, and our third pick, tackle, left tackle, guard, center.
I agree.
And secondly, bring me a coach, either Ben Johnson or bring me a coach that's had the experience of being successful in a mediocre or worse organization. You give me those two things, I think something can happen.
And I also want to see somebody, just anybody, do one thing. Is take Tevin Jenkins, re-sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal, and put him back on the right side of the offensive line, please, for God's sake. He played there in college. He did well. When he plays there in the NFL, he does well. Whenever he's on the left, it's crapshoot what we're getting out of him. So I don't understand why we keep moving this guy. So that's what I would like to see from the offensive line standpoint. But yes, everything from the center on left should be replaced, and then we should have Tev and right tackle, and we should draft backups for Tev and Darnell. And if we don't do those, if we don't have 5 new linemen through the draft with our top 5 picks, then whoever was picked did it wrong.
Truth. And also dump from the bottom. We keep dumping people from the top. Let's get rid of Demo and put some. No, dump from the bottom. If you're going to bring somebody in, dump from the bottom.
Yeah.
Improve. Don't have a philosophy to get rid of Keenan Allen. Improve by dumping from the bottom and adding to the top, especially on that offensive line. Erase. If you can't be a starter on our offensive line, we don't need you because we're not a good offensive line. Next, moving on.
Yep.
That's all I got. You got anything, nephew?
No, I'm just hoping that, man, we can get this figured out because I hate getting halfway through the season and it's like, well, next year, all we need to do, these are the things we need to do to change going forward because we all see it. We all know what it is. And sometimes, man, it just feels like good old Chicago corruption. It's just like when we had the Black Sox, whatever team that was in the 20s, 30s, and they were going to win the World Series. And they're like, you know what? They're going to pay us to lose. It feels like that, man. And it's so unfortunate, but I hope these guys get it together, man, because this is our team, I feel like. I know the McCaskies are the owners, but this is our team. We are the Chicago fans that show up every Sunday to see the team play, to watch the team play, to give our commentary. And most of the time, the fans can indicate and figure out what needs to be done, and ownership just doesn't do it. So something's got to change, and I'm ready for the change. Shout out to Sam Cook, Chicago's own.
All right, well, I'm Uncle.
I'm Nephew.
I'm Son.
And we're talking Bears.